I am in my pajamas, don't judge me. Hey guys, I told you I was going to do some videos on here that were not in any way related to Gotham or Enigmablepot, and here's one now. Although I didn't really expect to need to do a video like this at any point, at least not in the near future. But this is kind of gonna be a rant. It's why I didn't get a video done last week, and a lot of drama going on in my life. I'm not used to drama in my life, so this has been really weird for me. But basically, you're gonna be learning a lot about me as a person. So yeah, if this is not your thing, just don't worry about it, just turn the video off. Basically, long story short, I've been in two manipulative / emotionally abusive relationships. And I do not throw the words manipulative or abusive around lightly. I think they get misused a lot and give people the wrong idea about a person. I really think for months about what the person did before ultimately deciding if they were manipulative and or abusive to me. And these two people unfortunately fit the bill. Even psychologically speaking, you can tick off everything an emotionally abusive person does, and they have done it several times. One of them stalked me for like 4 years after, and I did ultimately get rid of her, so thank goodness she's gone. The other one, however, I thought I was rid of, and apparently I'm not. I had a snake in the grass. I have two younger sisters. One I'm going to call May, and the other one I'm going to call Sarah. When May was in high school, she had like no bullying issues or anything. She made friends very easily, and if she saw somebody who was having a harder time making friends, she was the type that would invite you to her table and stuff. Well, one day she sees this kid, and she notices that, like, even in band, when you're all squidged together in a tiny room, he was kind of always just off by himself and didn't look very happy. So she kind of asked around. She's like, hey, what's up with this kid? And they were like, oh, he's got a really hard home life and everything. Like, he's been abused by his dad before, and his mother's being kind of weird. She's, like, on drugs or whatever, and doesn't really want to take care of him. And she was like, oh, that's kind of sad. Like, I'll make friends with him then. She did. They got pretty close and everything. And the only time they really even had a falling out was, once college started, but that's understandable. It happens. I mean, it's very difficult to maintain all of your high school friendships in college because it's different. In high school, you just worry about high school. In college, you worry about school and a job and trying to find an apartment and trying to pay all of your bills. And it's a very different situation then. But they were still friends. They just didn't see each other as often anymore. Well, my other sister, Sarah, she likes to do these get-togethers every Friday night because we've got like a big yard and we can do bonfires and stuff all the time. And so she started putting together this little group that would come over every weekend. And May was like, why don't we invite him over? I'm going to call him Jim. Why don't we invite Jim over to these? Because I haven't seen him in a while, and I want to make sure, everything's okay and he's having fun and all, because I heard that he's living with this random couple now in town. And I was like, ooh, okay, yeah, definitely invite him over then. He comes over, he's getting along great with the group and everything, and there were no problems. And over time, Sarah decided she, kind of liked Jim, and they started going out. And they went out very successfully, very happily for about a year, and then she started acting a little bit weird, and we're like, well, what's going on? And she was like, I don't know, he just makes me feel uncomfortable sometimes. He was really pushing stuff in a relationship that she was not ready at all for. And ultimately, unfortunately, that kind of severed the relationship. She was like, yeah, I just don't think that he's really respecting my wants and needs too. But, that was a very, it's a big reason, but it's a small reason. It's not big enough that they lost the friendship. They were able to remain friends. He still came over and stuff, and there were no weird feelings, which is awesome. I always hope that when someone breaks up with somebody, they can maintain a friendship afterwards, because then you didn't lose everything. It makes it a lot easier to move past. And she did move past it pretty quick, because she was like, well, he's here all the time anyway, so I can't really miss him now, can I? Well, over the summer, my best friend ever, that I've been best friends with since like 2011, came over here from the UK and lived with me, and she was like in my room and stuff. And she was here during a very messy breakup with my most recent manipulative, emotionally abusive ex. This girl did a number on me. She would have me crying almost every night. She had me just about hating myself, thinking I'd never be good enough and everything, and was just not a nice person at all. I mean, one of many, many, many things, and you could ask the best friend about this because she's seen the messages after, the breakup. I was like, look at this. And she's like, she was awful to you. I'm like, I know. But like, just one example of stuff she did, I would go over to her house or she'd come over to mine and we'd stay at each other's for like a week or so before going back home. And we'd have a really good time. Everything was great. Every single time, without fail, every single time one of us left for home, she would call me or text me this list of stuff she hated about me and that I needed to change, to the point where after months and months of this, I couldn't for the life of me understand what was appealing about me. I was like, apparently I'm like the worst person in the world. I'm absolutely awful. And why would anyone even date me? Because everything about me apparently needs to change. That's just one little baby bit of it. So basically my best friend was there for me all through that nasty breakup and all, and I really appreciated that. And it was bad enough that I had to block this girl like immediately after the breakup because she wouldn't stop harassing myself and my best friend. And everything was quiet. Everything was fine. Like, we had a great time while we were here. Jim kept coming over all the time. He was kind of trying to make friends with my best friend, but he was being really weird. He was like making fun of her accent and making fun of where she came from. And she's like, this guy's kind of a dick. Like, can I tell him he's kind of a dick? And I was like, by all means, like, if he's doing something that's bothering you, make sure he knows about it. And it got to the point where she was like ready to punch this guy because he wouldn't stop making fun of where she came from. And like, that's one of my big pet peeves. If I am visiting another country, you better not make fun of like how I pronounce words, what I sound like, what my cultural customs are like, because I'm trying very, very hard to make sure that I do everything appropriately. But I grew up someplace else. So eventually, she has to go back home. And we're still very much in contact, and every so often, Jim would send her messages, and she's like, yeah, he's a lot more tolerable when he's not in the room with me. And I'm like, well, that's good. You can have some semblance of a friendship then, and he's not making you crazy. And it got really weird all of a sudden. All of a sudden, Jim started, like, saying stuff to my mother, like, almost kind of bashing Sarah, and she's like, where is this suddenly coming from? Like, I thought that you were the one who kept wanting to make things work. And he would just say little nasty things, and she's like, you shouldn't be talking about your friend that way, especially not to her mother. What are you doing? And he started giving me this weird vibe. He wouldn't come around all of a sudden. He was always really angry. If we invited him to come and play cards or something, he'd say, I'll come, but I promise you I'm going to make it miserable for you. And about a week ago, Sarah informs me that apparently Jim was talking to her and said that when he was making fun of my best friend and stuff, whatever, that was his sad attempt at flirting with her. And she was like, well, why were you flirting with her? You know that she's in a relationship. And Jim's response to that was, I wanted to drive a wedge between her and your sister. And Sarah was like, why? What did they do to you? They've been nothing but nice to you the whole time you've known them. And he wouldn't answer her. And I was like, I don't like that. He's acting weird. For some reason, he wants to break up my friendship. So I was like, I talked to my best friend. I'm like, has he said anything weird like this to you? Has he said anything about wanting to destroy our friendship? And she was like, no, that's really weird. I was like, and apparently Sarah also told me that he hates me, but acts like he's like one of my closest friends. And I was like, does he say anything about me? And she's like, no, that's really weird. Like, what reason would he have to hate you? You're always really nice to him. And I'm like, beats me. And she was like, you know what? I'm going to do a little sleuthing because I don't like the idea that he's talking behind your back. She was like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of pretend that we are fighting and ask him his opinion of you. He sang like a bird immediately. I didn't think it would be that easy, but it was. And apparently, he and my ex I thought I was rid of have been spreading lies all the way from the town I live in to 2 hours away at least, that one, I'm faking my chronic pain disease. Not sure how that's possible since I've had 6 surgeries for it already and more hospital visits and tests run than I can count. So they've got people convinced that I'm faking my disability just to get attention, even though there's been an occasion 2 years ago where they honestly thought I was going to die. They've also been telling people that I was abusing her, and the way she's convinced people and that Jim has convinced people of this is they paired up after the breakup. They took that last, angry, I'm just done with the abuse text message from me, erased anything where I was being kind, only kept the angry ones, and told everyone, like, look at the way that she talks to her, she's awful. And yeah, so people think I'm an abusive partner now. Fantastic. And they've been telling people that I'm mentally unstable and dangerous, basically. And I was like, excuse me? He's been telling people, everyone that he can, apparently, because this came very easy for him, that myself and my entire family make him really uncomfortable, and that he understands when she comes back to visit again if she needs to stay with him instead. And I was like, so this fool has been sitting here day after day, being all nice to me, acting like we're like best friends in the world, while saying this about me. I expect it from my ex, I did not expect it from him. And unluckily for him, he left a paper trail. All of this was done in Facebook Messenger, which means I now have all this proof that he's talking behind my back. And there is a silver lining to this story, as awful as all that is. And the silver lining is the fact that he's starting to suspect I might know what he's been doing. So he's acting really weird around me now and really scared, because he knows that if he's right and I do know about what he's been doing, I have the upper hand for the rest of his life. That all I have to do is flash those messages and say, now who's the liar? But yeah, this BS is going on. And on top of it, I know a lot of you know that I'm going to be part of a web series soon. Basically, someone noticed our character before we were able to copyright it and has been trying to steal it. So we're scrambling to get this intellectual property lawyer and get all these copyrights done before we do anything, because before it's even been filmed, this fool's trying to steal all of our stuff. So it has been interesting lately. I promise the next video will be Gotham related, but I needed to get this out.